In the early 1990s, New York City was gripped by fear. A serial killer was on the loose, taunting the police and claiming lives without remorse. He called himself the Zodiac, much like the infamous Zodiac killer from California. His real name, Heriberto Seda. Heriberto Seda, a seemingly ordinary young man, would go on to commit a string of brutal murders that left the city terrified and confused. His obsession with astrology and his thirst for notoriety drove him to kill. But what turned this quiet man into a cold-blooded killer? Heriberto Seda was born in 1967 and raised in Brooklyn's impoverished neighborhoods. With a single mother at home and few friends, Seda spent most of his time in isolation. It was during these years that his fascination with astrology took root. Seda's interest in the stars soon darkened. He convinced himself that the zodiac signs held power over human lives and that it was his duty to eliminate those whose signs he deemed evil. His obsession grew to mirror that of the Zodiac killer from California, and Seda adopted the same deadly path. In 1990, Seda made his first move. His victim, shot in East New York, was left with a message referencing astrological signs. Over the next few years, Seda continued his spree, choosing his victims based on their zodiac signs: Virgo, Gemini, Libra, Taurus, and others. Between 1990 and 1993, Seda killed 3 people and wounded several others. His letters to the police were eerily similar to those sent by the original Zodiac killer, taunting law enforcement and boasting of his supposed invincibility. "This is the Zodiac. I will never be caught," he wrote. But despite his confidence, the NYPD was closing in. Seda's killing spree came to an end in 1996, not by his own undoing, but through a family dispute. After a domestic argument with his sister escalated, the police were called, leading to Seda's arrest. Investigators soon linked him to the unsolved Zodiac murders. During interrogation, Seda confessed. He detailed how his victims were selected based on their astrological signs, his obsession with the stars ultimately becoming the key to his downfall. Heriberto Seda was convicted in 1998 for multiple murders and attempted murders. Sentenced to 83 years to life, Seda remains imprisoned, but his actions continue to cast a dark shadow over New York. His twisted fascination with astrology and the original Zodiac killer turned his case into one of the most peculiar in criminal history. Heriberto Seda's crimes stand as a grim reminder of how deep obsessions can manifest in the darkest ways. Even in a bustling city like New York, a single person can spread a reign of terror that lingers long after they are caught. Though Seda, the Zodiac of New York City, will never walk free, his chilling legacy remains forever etched in the dark corners of the city's history.
Welcome to your deep dive. Today, strap yourselves in, because we're heading straight into the heart of 1990s New York City.
Oh yeah, like back to the days of grunge and dial-up.
You got it. But we're focusing on a time when the shadow of the Son of Sam was still fresh in everyone's minds. It was like...
Wait, are we talking New York Zodiac?
Bingo! We're talking cryptic letters, a city on edge, and a chilling question. Was this a copycat? Or something even more sinister?
Okay, you've got my attention.
Yeah.
And what's the source material for this deep dive? Don't tell me, let me guess, some dusty old microfilm from the New York Public Library.
Even better. Get this, we're going deep into the actual case files from the True Crime Database.
Yeah, you're speaking my language. All right, so The New York Zodiac. What always gets me is how it tapped into that primal fear.
Right.
The idea of a killer walking among us, choosing victims based on their birthday. It's like a real-life horror movie. Yeah.
Totally. So, picture this. It's 1989, East New York. The grit, the grime, the constant hum of city life. And then, bam, a letter lands on the desk of the anti-crime unit at the 17th Precinct.
Okay.
Signed the Zodiac.
Now, I'm no detective, but a letter like that, arriving just a few years after the Son of Sam case, that's going to send chills down your spine.
No kidding. New Yorkers were still raw from that experience. I mean, think about it. Every time a high-profile case hits the news, copycats, hoaxers, they all crawl out of the woodwork, right?
Oh, sure. It's like they can't resist the spotlight.
Exactly. So initially, the letter was dismissed as a prank.
Makes sense. You got to filter out the noise, right?
Exactly. But as we're about to uncover, sometimes the line between a prank and a nightmare is razor thin. So first attack. March 9th, 1990. Early morning in East New York, a 49-year-old man named Mario Orozco is walking home from work. It's just another day in the city that never sleeps.
Until it isn't.
Tragically, Orozco becomes the first victim. Shot in the back, brutal attack. But in a city grappling with high crime rates, it wasn't entirely out of place, right?
Sadly, yeah. And at this point, the Zodiac letter wasn't even really on anyone's radar. I mean, it was sent to a precinct in Brooklyn. And this attack, Queens, totally different borough.
The detectives investigating Orozco's murder, they were working with limited information. And tragically, it didn't stop there. Weeks later, almost the same scenario. Another shooting in the dead of night. Another victim in East New York, Jermaine Montenestro. He's shot and robbed. And again, the police are searching for answers.
It's like a broken record, but with tragically real consequences.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really eerie. Third attack. Joseph Prose, an elderly man just going about his business, walking home in Queens.
Another one.
He was shot in the back. And listen to this, beside Prose's body, the killer left a note. And this note had those same strange symbols found at the scene of Orozco's murder.
Okay, now that's starting to sound familiar. Like a signature, But did they connect it back to the letter?
That's where two very sharp detectives, Mike Ciravolo and Bill Clark, come in. They were on the case.
Good thing, too. I mean, what were the odds, right?
Clark, he had a hunch. You see, he'd cut his teeth on the Son of Sam task force, so he knew a thing or two about patterns, cryptic messages, and the dark side of obsession.
Oh, so he's thinking what I'm thinking.
He remembered that chilling letter sent to the 17th Precinct, and something clicked. Could this be the work of the Zodiac? But remember, at this point, the police were still treating the Zodiac letter with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Rightfully so. I mean, you don't want to jump to conclusions.
Right, but Clark, he couldn't shake this feeling that something wasn't right. But they were missing a crucial piece of the puzzle, hard proof. Then, enter the New York Post and, well, things were about to explode.
How so? Like, did they get a tip?
Even bigger. They got a letter claiming to be from the Zodiac himself, detailing the dates, the times, even the astrological signs of each victim.
Whoa, talk about a bombshell.
It was like the whole city was holding its breath. Suddenly, it wasn't just a police investigation anymore. The return of the Zodiac was front-page news. And fear, that insidious thing, began to grip the city.
Because the Zodiac was more than just a killer, right? He was like a symbol of chaos, of the unknown.
Exactly.
And this letter, it brought back all those anxieties, all those questions that had haunted the city since the Son of Sam.
Okay, so we've got a city on edge, a media frenzy in full swing, and a phantom the police can't seem to pin down. What they didn't know was that the Zodiac was about to make his most audacious move yet.
Oh no. What did he do?
Just wait, because we're diving into that right after the break. So last we left off, the New York Post was reeling from that chilling letter they received.
Oh yeah, talk about a scoop. I bet their phones were ringing off the hook.
Oh, totally. And you can bet the police were scrambling. They're working around the clock, trying to anticipate the Zodiac's next move, right? Got their eyes glued to calendars, maps of the city, trying to predict where and when he might strike again.
So they're thinking patterns, trying to get inside this guy's head.
Exactly. But in a city as massive and unpredictable as New York, good luck with that, right?
It's like trying to find a needle in, well, a really, really big haystack.
You got that right. And here's where it gets really chilling. June 21st, 1990, Central Park.
Central Park? Wait, I thought all the attacks had been in, like, the outer boroughs.
That's what everyone thought. Picture the serenity, the escape it offers from the concrete jungle. And right there on a park bench was Larry Parham, Sadly, Larry had fallen on hard times and was living in the park at the time. He became the Zodiac's next victim.
Wow. Talk about a city holding its breath. But why Central Park, though? That seems so out of character for, the Zodiac's MO.
Right. It wasn't just a geographical shift. It was a symbolic one. Think about it, Central Park, the heart of New York City, a place where people go for solace, for escape, and he turns it into a crime scene.
It's almost like he's saying, I can get to anyone, anywhere.
Exactly. And as if the location wasn't enough, guess what? Another letter to the New York Post.
He can't resist the limelight, can he?
Nope. But this letter, it was different. He didn't just claim responsibility. He wanted to connect himself, to align himself with the original Zodiac killer from California.
Oh, so now he's aiming for the big leagues, trying to step out of the shadows and into, infamy?
That's the thing, right? It was a bold move, almost like he was trying to join a macabre Hall of Famer. He even drew a picture of the costume worn by the San Francisco Zodiac.
Creepy, right?
Super creepy. But for the investigators, this wasn't just creepy, it was a huge clue.
Because it showed how different they were.
Exactly. The original Zodiac was way more brazen, targeting couples in broad daylight. This Zodiac. He preferred the cover of darkness. Victims were often alone, vulnerable. Even their handwriting was different. The police were starting to think copycat, someone trying to emulate, to become the boogeyman of San Francisco.
But that doesn't make him any less dangerous, right? If anything, it makes him more unpredictable. Absolutely, because now they're dealing with someone who's trying to write their own twisted narrative, someone who's feeding off the fear, the speculation.
It's like something out of a true crime novel, except this is terrifyingly real.
And then, what happens next?
And then after Parman's attack, silence. For 2 long years, the Zodiac, he just vanished.
Vanished. Like poof, gone without a trace.
Like he was never there? Can you imagine the pressure on the investigators? This case had consumed them, the city was looking to them for answers, and then nothing.
I bet they were pulling their hair out. Dead ends everywhere you look.
You got it. Operation Watchdog, the task force assembled to catch the Zodiac. It was scaled back. The city, as it always does, it tried to move on.
But the question lingered, right? Was he truly gone, or just waiting for the right moment to resurface?
Because some monsters, they never really disappear. They just evolve.
And in the case of the New York Zodiac, his evolution would take a dark, and I mean dark, turn.
Now you're really going to want to hear this. So the Zodiac pulls a vanishing act, right? 2 years go by, the city's trying to breathe again, forget the whole nightmare.
And just when they think it's safe to go back into the water.
Bam. He resurfaces, 1992, this time with a whole new level of terrifying.
Okay, what happened?
Patricia Fonte, 39 years old, brutally attacked. And I'm not just talking shot, this was personal. Over 100 stab wounds.
100? Are you serious?
That's not just about pain, that's rage, right?
Totally. It's like he was trying to send a message. And remember how he was all about Thursdays, checking IDs for star signs?
Yeah, like he was all part of some twisted game.
Exactly. But with Fonte.
Yeah.
Completely off script. He doesn't even feel like the same guy.
So then what happens? He just disappears again.
No, he keeps going. This time, it's Highland Park. Jim Weber, Joseph Diacone, Diane Ballard.
Highland Park. Wow, he really got around.
Yeah, and it gets worse. Weber and Ballard, they survive, but Diacone doesn't make it.
Man, and all this time, still no sign of who this guy is?
The police, they're baffled. These attacks, they've got the Zodiac's fingerprints all over them, but there's something missing.
What do you mean? Besides actually catching the guy?
He went silent. No letters to the press, no cryptic messages, no bragging about his astrological conquests. It's like he wanted to disappear into the violence.
So how do they finally catch a break? Because I know this story and I'm dying to know how they put an end to this.
Fast forward to 1994.
Oh.
Totally unrelated incident. Okay. Heriberto Seda gets picked up for possession of a zip gun.
Hold on, Heriberto Seda, as in the New York Zodiac.
One and the same. But you get this clerical error. Boom. Charges are dropped. Record sealed. He walks.
Are you kidding me? That's insane. So the guy was right there, practically gift wrapped, and they let him go.
It's crazy, right? But for 2 years, Seda stays off the grid. Zodiac case goes ice cold. Then, 1996, another crazy turn. Seda gets into a huge fight with his sister and her boyfriend. Ends up firing a homemade zip gun at them.
Whoa. Hold up a sec. So domestic dispute brings down the New York Zodiac. How does that even happen?
It's like something you'd see in the movies, right? They're at this station, Seda's giving his statement, and the detectives, they notice something weird.
Weird how, What, was he wearing a Zodiac mask or something?
Not quite. He's doodling at the bottom of the page, like people do when they're distracted. And what does he draw? The Zodiac's calling card, the crossed circle.
No way. Talk about a light bulb moment. What did they do?
One of the detectives, he was all over the Zodiac case back in the day. Instantly recognizes the symbol, gets Seda's fingerprints run, and boom, match.
I bet those detectives felt like they'd hit the jackpot all those years, and the guy was hiding in plain sight.
Hiding's one word for it. They searched his apartment, and it was like stepping into the mind of the Zodiac. Scrapbooks packed with news clippings, a worn-out copy of that book on the Zodiac, the one by Robert Graysmith, you know it.
Yeah, I know it. So they finally get this guy, right? Did he say anything? Why do you do it? What's his deal?
Seda. He confessed to everything, described each attack, cold as ice, no remorse. Said he was like a righteous avenger, cleansing the city of, undesirables.
It's terrifying how easily he flew under the radar, like this totally average guy living a double life and no one suspected a thing.
It's a reminder that evil doesn't always come with a warning label. Sometimes it looks just like everyone else.
So what happened? They throw away the key.
Pretty much. 1998, found guilty, slapped with a 232-year sentence. Game over for the New York Zodiac.
Wow. The city could finally breathe again, but I bet those scars run deep, Especially for the victims who survived those attacks.
Absolutely. Larry Parham, the guy from Central Park, he actually forgave Seda. Publicly.
Wow. Some people are just amazing, but others, they never fully recover from something like that.
Trauma stays with you. It's a part of you. But so is resilience.
And there you have it. The New York Zodiac. A story that reminds us, even in a city that never sleeps, evil can lurk around any corner. Sometimes the monsters we fear the most are the ones hiding right under our noses. It's chilling, it's thought-provoking, and it's a testament to the human spirit's ability to survive, even after staring into the abyss.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Anything surprise you? Any details you want to discuss more? Reach out to us.
Until next time, keep those thinking caps on, folks, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.
Heriberto Seda's story is one of obsession, fear, and the dark side of human nature. Inspired by a notorious killer from the past, Seda followed in the Zodiac's footsteps, believing he was untouchable. But in the end, it was his personal demons, not the stars, that led to his downfall. Though Seda is now behind bars, his crimes serve as a grim reminder that the line between fascination and madness can be dangerously thin. The terror he unleashed on New York may have faded, but the scars remain. And so, Heriberto Seda, the self-proclaimed Zodiac of New York, fades into infamy, another chapter closed, but never forgotten.